the music down and bring it in. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome to the Bag Talk podcast, sponsored by HyperionCapital.net. For all of your funding needs, you can reach us at HyperionCapital.net for secured financing, as well as equipment loans and commercial kids advances. And special thanks to Reality Radio for facilitating this podcast this evening. And I got my very special guest for episode 2 of the Bag Talk, Mr. Michael Wilson.
What's going on? What's going on, brother?
I'm doing good, man. I'm gonna let you get set up. You still gotta get your mic going too. Oh, you know what? You gotta like extend it a little bit, like it comes out like that.
My man.
Yeah, you gotta stretch it out.
All
Yeah.
right. There we go. Where'd you get this joint from?
I think I got that on Amazon, man.
All right.
Yeah.
Nah, look at that. We cool. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
You comfortable with your mic?
Yeah.
Okay. Man, I'm glad to have you on here as a guest, man.
Appreciate being here, brother.
For those who don't know, Michael Wilson is the CEO, owner of Impressive VP, videography, branding, photography,
Yes, sir.
movies as well,
Right. Storyteller.
AKA Black Scorsese,
That's what you call me, man.
storyteller, visionary. So, I mean, before we go to the beginning, man, just give everybody just kind of like a quick little snippet of what you do, man.
What do I do? What do you mean, like, what do I do?
What is your profession? Like, what is your mission statement for what you do, as far as branding and kind of like putting a story of people's brands, companies, you know, whatever it is that they're trying to get out there?
It's a good question. I used to think I was a videographer.
Okay.
Then I thought I was a cinematographer. And I guess I am those things, but I realized I'm a storyteller. So what I've been doing this whole time is like learning how to tell better stories through sight. And I think sight could either be through the lens, through pen, through paper, through audio, but like taking a look at life and finding a dope way to tell a story about it.
Right. And I mean, I've known Mike. I mean, we go back to like high school, man. Like back to the Martin Luther King days. You had the green. What was that, the Escort or the Tempo? The Ford Tempo, the lime green Tempo joint, man.
4-door Tempo, baby. That's a color they ain't never made again, man.
Exactly.
That's my grandmother's 4-door Tempo.
Is that still rolling, or is it like a?
You know what? It may have. I think somebody crashed it up.
Oh, okay.
But the cars, man, unless somebody hit them, the cars are roll. But my point is, the car would still be here today if it didn't hit something and somebody hit it. No, it ain't on the streets no more.
So I mean, it's good to have somebody on the podcast from the way back days.
We getting old, big.
I know, man. Oh.
We getting old, man. Like, but it's dope to grow. Like I know you from. Here's the irony. I know you from a time when.
Right.
Like I'm learning to vibe with you now. Like we had like this inclusive scenario, as you know, where we knew each other. Now we've both kind of gone on to doing different things and being different people. So it's still just dope to see you, to be alive. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people who ain't even waking up today. So it's good just to see each other alive, and then, you know, like finding your way. Like that's the dope thing about what I've realized about life is, whatever we do, whatever the art is, whatever the product that we present to the world, that's cool. But it's like that who we become and trying to get to it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I know I use words now that I never used before. I use these metaphysical terms or just these scenarios that I try to interpret what life is, and it's kind of fly that this wasn't me before.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's crazy to see like the serious Mike now. I mean, like the Mike I knew I grew up with was like Joker Mike, make everybody laugh, like hooping, dancing, like, and then I see you all like philosophical and like thought provoking. I'm like, really? Like,
And that's a challenge though, because the initial reaction to me is always to be silly.
exactly.
Like I could probably tell 1,000 jokes right now. That's one thing people don't know. Like, I think when you, like a comedian, when you see life differently, you respond to it differently. So
Right.
for me, I always see life differently. So in any conversation or any moment, it's not a joke per se, but it's a moment to like live in the gravity of like, this is some funny shit, and I'm seeing it. Like I'm alive to be here to witness this right now.
Right,
So
exactly.
I find hilarity in everything because it's never that serious. Like death is serious.
Exactly.
That's like boom.
I was
let's be
just thinking
serious
about
now,
that earlier,
you know?
man. Just people we've known, grew up with, who experienced death.
Right.
You know, and I'm thinking like, man, what am I complaining about? Like, I'm actually good. Like, I still got my parents.
Bro.
I still got my siblings.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? And we know people. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the homie Monique Amy. She lost her dad. You know what I'm saying? She lost her little brother. It's like, that's crazy, man.
Yeah. That teaches me the mortality of life. Like, I think when we're at a certain age, we think that nothing can stop us because nothing has stopped us yet. You know what I'm saying? I had a daughter, and that showed me the fragileness of life, and from the standpoint of she'll be 4. So that means that's 4 years of what have I been doing in 4 years?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so when she's 8, it's like, what the hell have you been doing in 8 years? Because like, you can see her steps, which means that if she's 8, that means you 4 years or 8 years older than where you were. So, when you hear about death and people dying, man, it makes me really wake up every day and just like not complain about nothing, because like tomorrow might not be the moment that you get a chance to do what you should have done today. So, and I think too, when you live in a way that's really, really thankful, really grateful, you bypass a lot of bullshit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Not to say that people intentionally walk into it, but when you just kind of have a different vibration, man, you just ease around stuff. Like, oh, not today. Nah, I'm not going over there. So, not that it helps you to lessen or to increase your lifespan, but I think you make enough positive decisions, you'll end up in a positive position.
And I see that, and if anybody, go follow my boy on Instagram, Impressive, the letter M, Impressive EP. If you see a lot of the work that you do with certain people with their brands, a lot of it is about living life and what you're doing. That's kind of like what you're visualizing in a sense. And when I reconnected with you, I was coming out with my book, and the one thing I liked about working with you is it's like, I didn't know what the hell I really wanted to show. And it was like, you just told me, like, you didn't really give me no options. You're like, this is what we doing. Like, we doing this. And it was like, all right, cool. Like, I'm you know what I'm saying? I'm getting you to do it. I'm just going to let you do it. And is that kind of like part of what you do? Like, not, like, letting people like, you hired me for a reason. So, like, let me be the pro.
You know what? I saw this documentary of Vidal Sassoon.
Okay.
It was the dopest documentary I had seen, because what he said was he's an artist. And it wasn't from an arrogant standpoint, but it was saying like, you came to me because of who I am. You came to me for my eye.
Right.
Let me give you my eye. Like, I want you to walk out as a piece of my creation. I'll listen to what you want, but at the end of the day, and don't get me wrong, you'll get what you want. But I found that most times when people are just like adamant about no, the video doesn't come out that way. And I think it's because they're looking at it from the plane of thought that they see life in. But I live this every single day. Like, I live in angles and stories and intros, outros, beginnings. I see text all day. Like, I go to the movies and I don't even see the movie anymore. I see the set. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So when you come to me, 9 times out of 10, when I size you up and look at you, I already have a concept for you that's probably even from my life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this is how I would see myself. Like, the video we did for you, it was an empty room. Like, we had
it was
nothing.
like in a loft, but you made it.
We
like,
had nothing.
Nobody would have ever even thought that.
We had nada, B. It was like an empty room, and we found it was just a chair sitting there, right?
Right.
And I was like, sit in the chair, and then we just opened the window pane up. So to me, I think if you have a great idea, and you got a great backdrop, and you got somebody that can tell the story, like, you don't have to have all the things. So yeah, I pretty much give people my idea of how I see them, and then I let them decide if that kind of connects with what they're trying to show.
And I think that's important, man, because I think in this day of age, like social media, like, where like everybody's in a bullshitting business of like showing
Word.
a certain narrative, and it's like everybody sees through that, and it's like it's like you taking people's BS and you're like making it somewhat sellable in a sense.
Yeah.
You know, because like
That's
if I'm selling chicken wings, like you're gonna make my shit look like it's like this is the place to get wings.
Yeah.
Even if like the wings is trash, man. So it's like, how did you come to that formula of doing it? And just kind of just making stuff look, you take it in a realistic place, but you're actually enhancing it though.
Because starting out, nobody had a budget.
Right.
So you gotta have something, right?
Right,
You gotta,
exactly.
like this guy is gonna pay you $350 for a video shoot. You can't buy shit with $350, right?
Right.
Plus, I'm just starting out. I need all $350 of that.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like I gotta go pay my car insurance on all $325 with another $25 for some drinks.
Right.
You know, and then I'm gonna wake up the next day and figure out how to get another $325. So for me, it was take what you have, and you always got the streets, you always got the city. So for me, I started always making my videos with concepts. So your stuff could be in the middle, but the concept in the beginning of it or end of it was so dope. So it was like a motion picture. I always drew you into the storyline, and then the content didn't matter necessarily because the content became like the pendulum of the storyline.
Right, exactly.
And that's like, I think when we talk about with yours, we didn't really have a set or anything. We just had a concept. And that concept was, we're gonna tell this story about what it takes to be, what it takes to overcome.
Right.
And
exactly.
what better to show that than a cat in a suit in an empty ass room?
Right,
like,
exactly.
Like I ain't got it yet.
Smoking a cigar.
Smoking a cigar, like I don't have nothing, but one day I'm gonna
Right.
get it.
Right.
That's
exactly.
a dope ass commercial because how
Right.
many people at home, like you said, are at home like one day I'm gonna get it. And that's the one thing I learned about Instagram. I learned that quick is that everybody instantly starts sensationalizing being an entrepreneur. You know, like even the word entrepreneur is sensationalized. I've never heard more entrepreneurs, more CEOs, more
Right.
directors of photography, more
Right.
cinematographers.
Right.
Everybody gets a piece of equipment and they go out and they make a video and they say, "Yo, I'm a cinematographer. Yo, I'm a photographer. I'm a this. I'm a that." And that's cool until you got to produce something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I just kind of always took the approach that if you become valuable to your client, then you will retain your value.
Okay.
And so if you tell the story or the concept, then you can put whatever footage. If it's a party, cool. We know it's a party. But let's tell what happens when people get ready to go to the party. Like what's the mindset of the guests coming to the party?
Right, exactly.
So that way you go, "Oh, this is gonna be good." Like the girl at home looking through her closet, what she's gonna put on. Like give me something to feed into. Because I know the most of it's gonna be dancing and BS, right?
Right.
So
exactly.
sell me some girth before you just water me down with the BS.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get more into like the science of photography or film work and lighting, things of that nature, sound. But let's just kind of go back. Let's rewind.
Family's trying to call you. Trying to do your first podcast. Ma, quit calling. I'm on the podcast.
let's get into how you got into it. So like where you were before you started this visionary process.
Like what was I doing?
Like you were working for the city of Detroit.
Yeah, I worked
right?
for the city of Detroit for 13 years. And right when Kwame was going to jail, like the city was changing. The politics was changing. And so I was like, I was 32 at the time. I was like, this seemed like a great time to just kind of bounce. So I maneuvered my 401, my annuity plan, and didn't even know what I was going to do. I just knew that if somebody was to give me that money, I'd go do something. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it started. Ended up, had some cousins that lived in Cleveland. So I took the Greyhound bus one day just to go visit them. I figured I ain't got no job. I'm waiting on this check to show up. I went to visit them, and as soon as I got there, I saw the demographic of Cleveland. And back then, everybody lived like in a certain demographic. All the black people, all the artists, all the people that I could be beneficial to, lived like east of Cleveland. So that would have been like from downtown going towards Grosse Pointe.
Exactly.
But nobody lived in Pontiac, nobody lived in Inkster, nobody lived downriver. So I was like, cool, that means you only gotta really situate yourself in one spot.
Funneled in, yeah.
You just gotta find one spot and wait for them to come to you, and that's kind of what happened. I met some great people, and they put me on to some other great people, and I started to realize, like with any city, there's only a small majority of people that's actually putting this stuff together. you can't have a party without a DJ.
Right.
You can't have a party without the girls. You know what I'm saying? So I started to centrally locate myself with the people who was the nucleus of like those 10 elements that need to come together to make anything happen. So I knew the band members, I knew the DJ, I knew the this, I knew the that. So 9 times out of 10, I was going to be where the hottest event was that weekend.
Right.
And that's what happened, man. And Cleveland jumped it off.
Okay, so you didn't even really have a plan. I mean, because you kind of was
Nigga, I
like
didn't have
living
nothing.
You was like in that middle class
I
euphoria.
had
You
nothing.
had the gig, the $65,000 a year, $70,000 job, the 9 to 5. You know, you just kind of being a surveyor, and you could have just did the whole bowling on Friday, Thursdays, and Monday Night Football, and just rolled that out. But then you was like, no, you just bounced. Like you didn't even have an idea. Like, let me do this on the side. You just kind of just walked into it.
I walked inside. I had tried to go in there just to get a lead.
Mm-hmm.
Like they said, if you can get this lead, then I'm thinking you can get your annuity. Like there's this, somebody told me there's this thing, if you take an extended lead, then you can touch your paper. And so but you had to have like a chronic illness in your family or something that somebody needed medical attention.
Yeah.
I'm creative, right? So I'm like, who do I know? And I was like, my grandfather at the time had Alzheimer's, and he definitely needed the whatever. So I went in, got a doctor's note that said he needed all this stuff, attention and care. Go downtown and like, bet, you can take your 6 months. Cool. Boom. How do I access the loop? I was like, oh no, we sorry, you got to resign to do that. Now that's a different story than I'm gonna take a 6-month leave and come back.
Exactly.
You've been here for 13 years. We're not firing you. So it's really bad right now. The recession is really, really hit. Like this is back when the housing market crashed.
It's like 08, 09.
This is like no. This was 2010.
Okay.
But it was still
lit.
People was just now tiring out. Like I got to leave. This was people was moving out the city.
Right.
Kwame was going to jail. People moving out the city. I was just like, oh man, I just figured it was now or never. Like 32, no kids. Why not? And I was like, give me my 2 weeks notice, I quit. And I went to work for that first week. Friday came about, and I was just tired of the job at this point. I'm just like, dude, if I'm quitting, and it's Friday, and one more paycheck is the difference between broke or making it, I'm already fucking broke.
What difference does it make?
I'm broke.
Right.
I tell my man, I say, yo, bro, put the tools up. What you talking about, man? We went and got haircuts. We went to the mall, went grocery shopping. I went and got everything I needed because I knew I was no longer working. I came back in and quit. And that started the journey, bro. And that I never looked back. But one thing I will say though, and this is what makes me look at people and say now, I think in this day and age, why entrepreneurship is so fly. It's not as sensationalized as people make it, but it's so fly because it gives you your power back.
Right.
And when I came to the end of that driveway, when I quit, people said, said they whatever, say goodbye and all that stuff. I got to the end of the driveway and the gate opens up. And it dawns on me, I've been facing this direction for 13 years.
Right.
Like my car at this time or other times has for 13 years outside of the weekends, I've seen this street. For 13 years, and I looked in the rearview mirror and nobody was in the parking lot. Like Cat Williams said, it wasn't no bitches, it wasn't no nothing, there was no parade, it was nothing. And it just dawned on me, that was 13 years and nothing.
Mm-hmm.
What if I would have done 30 years and nothing?
Exactly.
Nothing. I gave my whole life and half of them would have been probably dead and already retired by the time I retired, right?
Right. You get this 401k. It's like everybody's like worshiping this 401k. This it's like we worship the end process, and we don't really like double down on actual living and doing what we want to do, because it's like we feel there's some type of safety in consistency. You know what I'm saying? And it's like we're not really taught, even if you're going back to school, how school systems are, we're not really taught creativity, like creating your own narrative, creating your own consistency.
Yeah.
And like you created that in your brand, like you created your consistency through your own brand.
Well, I did. Now I started in a time when cinematography wasn't popular.
Right.
Like it was still videography, and cinematography was just for the big boys still. Cinematography was, you gotta have hundreds of thousands of dollars to get in this game. You gotta have these big cameras. You gotta have, Adobe Premiere still costs $1,500 to get the editing suite. There wasn't no Adobe Cloud. There wasn't no this, get an app here. It's easy to be a cinematographer now.
Right, like having your own podcast. Like
You get an iPhone and a half a HP, and you can edit your own content. So it's easy now. I mean, I started back when they had the VHS joints.
Right.
Where in order to, before you could even start editing the video, you had to record the video into the camera. So if you film 2 hours worth of video, you can't even edit until you record 2 hours into the camera.
Okay.
And then when it's time to come out, however long the video is, you gotta record it out the thing.
Exactly.
So you 10 hours just to get up.
Just for the process.
Just to put the stuff in it and take it out. Not to mention what you're gonna do to it. So I'm just saying that to say, entrepreneurship is dope. I love it. But it's the process of who you become.
Right.
You know, during that process, who you start to become, the way you start to think, the way you start seeing people, the stuff that you realize isn't even important anymore. Shopping, for example. I honestly can't even say the last time I went shopping. Like before I came here, I had to go in my closet, and I looked in the closet 15 times, and it's the same fucking outfit in the closet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I take the sweater and put it with a shirt, and it was the same shirt. And I take that shirt and put it away and get another sweater, and it was sweater look just so. But then I realized like it don't matter. Why? Well, the reason I say that is because it's not what you. I'm not going to say it's not about what you have. When you're so engrossed with what you do, I think that the outward sign of you stops becoming important.
Right, exactly.
Like I want to just internalize myself all day long and just be creative and, you know, definitely shower and whatever. But when people say hello to me or when I say hello to them, I just want what I'm feeling internally to come out. And then like, oh, yeah, I didn't get a haircut. Oh, my bad.
Right, but the dope thing is, man, you created such a process in a brand that's what people see. They don't see like, oh, if you got on Off-Whites or if you're wearing Supreme or something like that, because
what is that? I don't even know what that is.
Off-Whites is just it's like this new brand of shoes, kind of like for millennials. It's like, you know, I mean,
the Supreme. The Supreme. I see people with the
It's just a brand. I mean, basically, it's like a $500 T-shirt. You
So
know, it's like a $500 T-shirt
See, that's
or
a
a
hard
book
drive.
bag.
That's a hard drive. You know what
Right,
I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
That's
but when you're
stabilizer.
working,
It's life.
it's like that's what you're investing into.
Yeah.
You know, someone else's brand, but when you got your own brand, it's like I got to invest in my brand. So why would I spend $500 on this? You know, and it's like, and I could be doing it for my own brand. Like this $500 could make me like 10 grand.
Yeah. See, with me, it's different. Is that I don't even see the reason I don't like brands because I don't know what to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I put on Gucci. What am I supposed to do now?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like my vibe is too chill. Like I'm me.
Exactly.
So if I put on some red bottoms or whatever shit is that you put on, like, how do I act now? Like, how do I walk? Do I still stand at the bar like I normally do? Like, you know what I'm saying? Or do I gotta show it because this shit is expensive? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly.
Do I go to the bathroom more times than usual? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just want to just be me.
Right.
So
exactly.
I find when I go to Target, when I go to Zara, when I go to Banana Republic, I just like stuff that has nothing on it, so that I can fill the outfit out.
Mm-hmm.
And then you be like, yo, those some cold shoes. Like I got these shoes on. I got them from Sears.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't like no lie. I didn't know Sears had shoes.
Exactly.
No, JCPenney's. Fuck, I'm my bad. I don't go to
Man,
Sears.
shout out to JCPenney,
I don't go
man.
to Sears.
JCPenney's is the move, man.
I'm in JCPenney's. Yeah, I don't go to Sears. That's Robux and Sears. No, but I'm talking about JCPenney's, bro.
Right.
And then they got like a sale for everything. It's like 20% off to 90%. It's damn near free. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying that from the standpoint of fashion for me. Like I don't like brands. I like branding because branding is the authentic you. You know what I'm saying? And when it's stuff that's just like plastered all over you, you know, your whole body is branded. I always wonder, well, who are you? Because the identity is gone. All I see now is what the
Has
person
that
is.
changed how you view people since you kind of like stepped out of the norm? And because everything you do is about creativity and storytelling, has that changed like how you view people, like how you view women, like just everything? Like how did it change you once you make that change, make that step out of like the 9-to-5 world?
In all honesty, it changes you because of the reality of it. You get changed so fast because you learn the hard way. Like, so when I say I quit, and it sounds so like, oh my goodness, like with that quitting came a high price of information that I paid through experience.
Right.
So like Les Brown says that he paid his tuition through the experiences of life, because he didn't go to school for it. So for me, I learned the hard way by showing up in town and the guy don't have the money to pay, or for getting halfway there and they call and cancel. I learned about not securing a deposit because Cleveland was 189 miles away, one way.
Yeah, that's kind of like that would change your attitude, man. You driving like 3 hours and like shit don't pop off.
Yeah, but the funny part is immediately it don't. It take you about 3 trips to realize that shit.
Okay.
Because you're in business and you need the money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so you got to take that chance. And then you realize that somebody told me a long time ago, never chase the money, chase the business. And I never understood that because I need the money. And that's a dope term, but when you hustling, that's like, don't go hustle for the nickels and dimes. You guys, those are gonna make the dollars, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's the process that I'm talking about that makes you. So chasing those nickels and dimes, those headaches, those heartaches, sitting and editing projects forever and realize I never even charged close to what it was worth, that made me realize like, okay.
So can you now like sense bullshit faster? Like if you, like, do you know when like a client's serious or are they just kind of like kicking tires?
Yeah, I used to look at people. Now I close my eyes and I feel them.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you talk to me, I don't even look at you no more. I just close my eyes and I listen to how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Because your vibration tells me whether or not, like, I'm very slow when I listen to people now because we use so many words and they mean shit.
Right.
That out of 5,000 words, it's only 4 words out of that whole sentence that you really meant, and that meant I don't have it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's all I listen
for. You said all that to say this.
I don't have the check.
Right.
That's it. And trying to be cordial and trying to be whatever, you listen to people and they take you around this block. And then it's just really getting back to, oh yeah, remember when I told you that? Yeah, that meant I didn't have it. So I've gotten to the point now where I'm very intentional. So when people call me, what's your intention?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I want to have this video done. I understand. What's your budget? Oh, well, do you have a concept?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? My time is limited. If you call me now, you get, as far as a consultation, I'll do a consultation with you for an hour. Outside of that, you either will make a decision or you're not.
Right.
If you call me, you get very little conversation, just enough to set up an appointment because your experience is what people are paying for. You know, if you were, as you're into real estate and the person was going to give you 20 years of experience and you called him on the phone every day, he's gonna be like, dude, I'm giving you the game. I don't have time to give, like, sit down and make an appointment. Let me see how serious you are.
Right.
And when you make that appointment, that lets me know that you believe in your brand. And I say that because with Instagram now, it's so easy for people to believe that they're the next something. Oh, I just learned how to sew. I'm gonna start a sewing business. I need a video for my sewing business.
Right.
I'm gonna come in with my regular price and you're gonna say, oh no, I just started though. Well, you don't need my video. Maybe you need an iPhone video right now. You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? So yeah, I can definitely tell.
So going back to when you were in Cleveland, how did you get like do you remember like your very, very first client and like how that popped off? Like how did that go?
All right, prime example. So my first client was a spot in Cleveland called, I can't even think of it, but it's a Polish boy in a chicken wing spot, the Whitmores.
Okay.
The Whitmores. We got this call. My cousin and I at the time were going to do photography. She was doing photography. I was doing video, and this brand was trying to secure some form of a role on the Steve Harvey show. Like they were pitching their franchise since he's from Cleveland. So that was the first act, so to speak. But that's where I met the first person that I called a cat in a hat. Okay. So the guy, the manager, the one that secured us, he did everything that I say that I would see now. He was just moving too fast. He was in like, you ever see the episode of Atlanta?
Yeah.
Where my man Childish Gambino is trying to get the money from the promoter. And the
right.
promoter stands against the wall, like he can't catch him the whole night.
Right.
That's how this dude, well, he was just moving too fast. You know,
exactly.
Once you ask the important question, he was always just boop, boop, boop. So I call him the cat in the hat. Like, he ain't real, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so that whole deal, it did what it did. But that was my first taste of Cleveland. And me saying like, okay, wait a minute, I did make some money. I just got to figure out how to make more of it. And the fast forwarding, what I found the secret is it wasn't do more videos, it was to become more valuable. So once I realized it wasn't about how many videos could I film, it was how many people could I touch, then the money issue never was a problem per se, as far as having to wonder, how do you create your own style?
Because to be honest with you, when I sought you out, like I talked to other, videographers, cinematographers, And I was checking it, like, when I was talking, I didn't even check your stuff out. Like, I didn't even look at your other shit. Like, I knew, like, okay, it's gonna pop off. And I even got it, and it reinforced it with all the feedback that I got. It was like, I didn't even have to, like, look at your other footage to, like, know, like, okay, you know what you was talking about.
Word. And that just comes from people, man. Do you know how many times I've showed it to a photo shoot and had no idea what we was doing? None whatsoever. I had no idea what the concept was, whatever, but it was just make it up. One of the best videos I'd ever done was a video in Cleveland called The Woods. And a good friend of mine, Maida Mornay, she said, let's just go to the woods. I'm like, and do what? I've never been to the woods in Cleveland.
Right.
We go to the woods, man, and from the moment we got out of the car, the video never stopped running.
Right.
And it's the dopest. You would have swore that we had all this production, and it literally was just us running through the woods. But the way it was edited is what just took it to all the level.
Okay, so let's kind of get into like the science of filming and photography. And for you, do you have like a certain preference? Like, is it easier to work with models, or is it easy to do like a wedding production or like a brand? Like, what would be your preference? Because it seems like models would be easy because it's like, okay, I'm fine as hell, I'm a model, like, just shoot me and let's go. Or is it like, you know, the wedding where it's like, oh, the wife is like, she wants to do this and that, she wants doves flying in the air and like.
I think it's the authenticity of the brand.
Okay.
And that brand could be even weddings.
Okay.
If the husband and wife look like they in love, act like they in love.
Can you peep that out?
Oh,
like,
man, you know how many weddings I knew weren't gonna make it.
Like, what's like the kind of like the hack to let you know, like, okay, like this is
the number one. Okay, brides and grooms. The number one way to tell if you are in love or if this marriage will work per se, to me, from a visual standpoint, is every time the camera goes off, the bride separates. So
Okay.
if I line you up in this beautiful setting, and it's your wedding day, and I say, okay, cool, I got the shot, and as a groom, you ain't still on your babe.
Right.
Like, the hell with what he said. Like, I mean, you ain't still posing here. I'm talking about when you say, okay, great shot, and he just go back to the boys, and she kind of go back to the girls, that's just like, I'm not having this moment. And see, I say
like
that,
we're not a team, like basically.
yeah, because I say
like,
that
we're still
because
individuals.
I'm the videographer.
Mhm.
So I'm looking at it from a different perspective. The photographer has set the shot up. The photographer took the shot, right? So I'm now waiting for her to get out the way, and I'm trying to catch that moment that happens between the two of them on their own.
Right.
So I'm expecting a lingering eye. You don't hang out with your boys long enough, nigga. You
Right.
42. This ain't no 16, 18. You know, this ain't no 21-year-old wedding.
Right.
You 43, dog.
Right.
And you still trying to be like, yo, fellas, hold up. Where the beers at? I'm like,
Right.
nigga, you ain't gonna make it. It
Right.
ain't gonna go nowhere.
And you know, to me, like, I was thinking, like, man, it must be great. Like, what's the reality of like working with like a model per se? Is it as dope as it seems? Because I've seen some of your work. I've seen some of the models you work with. I'm like, damn, like, I need to just be like doing that, like filming beautiful women all the time.
Let me tell you what this business has shown me. That what you see is not is not what you get. I've seen some women that you walk in and pay no attention to them, and then they come out done up, and you're like, that was you?
Right.
You know, it's no disrespect, but so many people are models now or brand influencers now, and they are authentic. So how do you trust the brand when the model that's branding it is made up?
Right. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like we've Instagram to me has shown me one thing. It shows me that all over the world, everybody has the same hiccups, hang-ups, inferiorities, insecurities, and all this stuff. Like before you had the ability to go to social media, you couldn't see what the Washington girls were doing.
Right.
Or the Baltimore girls. So you just thought Detroit chicks was the only ones that was doing this, right?
Right. Exactly.
Now you go on Instagram, everybody got the same leg pose, everybody not eating meat, everybody got the biggest booties, everybody's faces beat to the god. Where are the people?
Right.
All day long, I'm scrolling through images of perfectly put together people. And I had to realize that Instagram and Facebook is a facade because you trust what you see, and then that's made up. I mean, like for real, we on TV now, whatever you call this thing.
Right.
I brush my teeth, put a little extra, argan oil in the front.
Right.
I didn't just come out like boom.
Right, and like the struggle for me is like being ashy. Like am I ashy? I have to always ask myself this question where I'm going. So, for let's say somebody that wants to get into filming or any type of visual concepts, like what is it that they need to know as far as equipment wise in editing and just the whole. Like, what does it take to be dope at what you do? Or is it just, I guess I'm asking is, can it be born? Like, were you born doing what you're doing? Or was it a science? Kind of like basketball or boxing or like, so you think people are born doing what you're doing? Or is like, can it be taught?
I think it's discipline.
Okay.
And I think discipline is what forges whatever your gift is. So if you like basketball and you discipline yourself to basketball, then you will become a basketball player.
Right.
For me, I've disciplined myself into cinematography. Like I really have to realize that I don't really do much outside of cinematography. I might go catch a vibe at a nice spot. But when people say, yo, you watching the Super Bowl? I didn't even know the Super Bowl was tomorrow.
Right.
I don't even know who's in the Super Bowl.
Right.
I don't watch sports, I don't watch TV, I don't watch the news. Like I literally live in my art.
Right.
I'm at the museum all the time, and I say that because a lot of people say, that's stupid. I look at the guy that, Hugh Hefner. Hugh Hefner lived in his world so much that he wore pajamas his whole life.
He did.
Because he figured all I want to do is what I do.
Right.
I don't need none of that stuff because as soon as I finish the interview, I'm going back to go do what it is I do. The same thing when you look at Walt Disney. I say, if I were to sit here and tell you that I was going to create a world where mice would talk and princesses would walk around, and fireworks every night, you think I'm crazy. And so because I'm crazy, you're right, I'm going to insulate myself and create my own world and then charge you $100 per person to come into my fantasy.
Right.
Because you don't have to be great at everything. You just have to secure one great idea and live in it. Because all we're doing is looking for a way to survive, and surviving is through money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can't be retarded if I'm a billionaire, a millionaire.
Right.
I'm a genius now. I'm only retarded if I'm on the side of the road and I never fulfill my dream. So you ask me, what can a person do? They can't do anything other than just open their eyes and be authentic to themselves and say, who am I? If you're a dancer, cool, discipline yourself to dance. But I think this is the first time in society that we have that authority to do that. This is the most creative time ever. Like right now, we sit in a studio that would have cost thousands of dollars to produce back then.
Exactly, yeah.
Now you need, some USB cables or some lighting. Like it's all for the taking. And so if we don't, anybody that wants to be creative, this is what I would say. Anybody that wants to do this, I would just tell them to, really ask yourself, what are you good at? Like, what are you good at that you can make money off of that you've never gotten a check for? Like, what have you ever made money from? Have you washed a car before? Have you cut grass before? Like, what have you ever done that didn't require a 9 to 5? And if that is something that you found pleasure in, figure out a way, if you did 2 lawns, figure out a way to do 4. And figure out a way to repeat the process because there's a value that you have. You just need to tap into it and figure out. So then what you're saying is maybe it's not even grass cutting. Maybe it's just the way that you speak to people. So then maybe that transfers later to, wait a minute, I'm not a grass cutter, but that was my vehicle to speak. I'm a motivational speaker.
Right. Maybe
I'm a teacher. So your gift is speaking. You got to figure out what vehicle you'll use. So keep speaking is my point.
Right, exactly.
If you like video, keep watching is a point. Keep producing is a point. Just keep being in what makes you better.
Okay, so I think people kind of are intimidated by the whole process of photography, because what I notice about photography, like even doing my own type of branding, I've realized, man, just how difficult this shit is. Just to do like a 1 minute video on Instagram to where it has some type of creative value, man. Like, is it in the equipment? Is that what matters? So if I got like, the best lenses, the best lighting, I got like the what is it, the best cameras. I got the Panasonic,
GH5.
Yeah, the GH5. But maybe you have something like the Rebel, or you got natural lighting. Like,
I shoot a circle around anybody with a fucking Canon T3i because it ain't the equipment, man.
Right.
Like, you just have a really clean, funky looking video.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've seen people shooting reds and you just get a really crisp, dumb video.
Right.
Images is images.
Mm-hmm.
Like I look at images now, not even as images, they're squares to me. So you just get a really crystal clear square. That's it.
Right.
Because it's a frame. Like you look at your computer screen or your phone, it's a square.
Right.
So you're just producing hundreds of squares.
Right. Okay.
So the camera does just what it's supposed to do. It produces a clear square. So without that concept, you just have a bunch of squares. So people get a $30,000, $40,000 camera and just tell these really clear pictures with no story. And then that's how you get these videos. When you think of like Hype Williams and Benny Booms, they used to tell stories. You look at, I was watching Harlem Nights the other night. The cinematography in that, the storytelling, was just like the detail that they paid attention to. You know what I'm saying? Like that story.
Yeah, well, like one of my most favorite scenes from that movie is like when Della Reese is like in the kitchen. And like you can't even see her, but Red Fox is just sitting there, and she was like, you know, he was, you know, I would tell you to kiss my ass if you can see me. You know what I'm saying? That's the best scene because it's like you can visualize that situation because like you can't see her, and he gave you that feeling of like just hearing her voice because she's like in another room. So he was like great at like encapsulating like that moment, that one moment in time.
But again, that comes back to your foundation, and that being good content or a good story. A lot of music videos I see today, the music ain't shit.
Right.
How can the story be? If you bando trapping, bando got my machine handle, man. Like if that's where's the content?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I was watching Jeezy's video the other day with Neo. She's bad. So bad, I think I could.
Right.
Leave me alone.
Right.
And I watched the video and just the story with the Mexican brothers, and he was dating a girl. They were like, the video is a movie. It caught you.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So when you have a story worth telling, then you want to have a visual for it. And I think a lot of the videos that we've been getting lately is this style that causes us not to think anymore, causes us to act.
Right.
So now you just want to be hyped. I got all this energy. What do I do with it?
Exactly. Okay, cool, man. So, we in 2019 now. Like, what are some of your goals? You in 2020 already? Okay. So we got to catch up with you. Like, what are some of your goals, like, moving forward? Like, is it just that? Like, do you like how can you take what you have and can you like sell it to somebody else? Like,
so I've been asked before, like, would I teach somebody or like show people how to do whatever, and I'm doing that now to a degree, but I think you gotta learn you. Like one thing about, by no means am I saying fame for me, but one thing about reaching new levels is you can reach all the new levels, but I call it robots. So like we're all humans, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're these robots.
Right.
So your robot manually can do these great things, but if you can't control it in that environment, then what good is being on that level? Jay-Z talks about it like you get lights, camera, you get the fame, but you can't handle the fame.
Right.
Lights, camera, action, Hollywood. A lot of people want it, but they can't adjust to the discipline it takes to not go overboard. So right now for me, I'm focusing on really becoming as conscious as I can about me. Like I realize it's no longer about the thing. The more awake I become to self and understanding of what I am, then I'm able to project that on to other people.
Right.
So then I'm more valuable to people now. Like my idea now is to try to help people to either get up from a situation that they've fallen down in or sat down in, to see themselves differently. I know Eric Thomas talks about, and Les Brown speaks about not seeing yourself as you see yourself, but how the world sees you. Because sometimes we have a very small view of us, and your peers are like, "Oh my God, you're here!" Like if they believe it, then take their opinion of you,
right,
and live in that. So I'm just trying to every day wake up and just do something dope. And I'm really not into the camera stuff, even though I use the cameras, because there's like this authentic thing where you have to expose yourself.
Right.
So recently I did some videos about myself. Like I went through a divorce. I have a daughter now. And I think the best story, I always say, is the story that the storyteller tells. Right. So if I can tell your story, imagine my story.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I went back for the first time and actually like filmed myself on my Instagram page and was just like, that's me.
So what was that like seeing yourself in that process?
Scary.
So
Scary.
tell everybody, because man, I wish, man, we could talk like 3 hours, man.
Right.
It'd be some dope shit. So tell people kind of like what services you offer and kind of like how they get in touch with you, just kind of give you a whole business feel.
All right, well, I do cinematic branding. So that means if you have a story to tell, whether it's hair, whether it's whatever it is. We live in a story now, we live in a time now of storytelling. Again, it's not about products no more. Everybody has a product, we're tired of products. We want to know now, how did the entrepreneur get there? This is the time that entrepreneurs have come out of the woodwork. Everybody wants to sell, do, create. Nobody wants to work no more, and that's cool. But have a story. And I think that sell me your story, or ask me to help you tell and sell your story. Because if everybody collectively told their story, oh my God, we'd all learn. But if you keep selling me this bullshit about bossing and slaying, and don't get me wrong, I know people have made it to that level. But even at that level, there's another level that makes you, so you've made it to the bossing level, right?
Right.
But now you have a brand new car, no brand new house, no. So you're still slaying, but you're slaying like a person that's still starting. So
right.
It's still levels to being broke. You know, the more money you make, the more things you get. Now you got to get these sales. Now you got to do $100,000 in sales to cover your expenses.
I mean, look at Jeff Bezos, man. He's getting a divorce. He got to cut a check for $56 billion. So you imagine you've made all this money, and it's like you got to make up $56 billion that you earned. So it's like, man, like my problem, like
how much is he worth?
Double that. So it's like,
so $56 billion ain't nothing. You know what?
Well, I wouldn't say that, but go ahead.
It ain't nothing.
Okay.
After that, money is nothing when you got the formula.
Yeah, that's true.
So $56 billion, if he's not happy, then he gets away from a problem, which means he can now quadruple his income because he's 100% himself to make it.
Right.
Then once you have $56 billion, I guarantee there's nothing in the world that you can't buy with. How much you ever have?
Yeah, half.
How much?
Half.
How much he worth?
Over 100. I mean,
I
would say him personally, his business is probably almost.
He still got a good $56 billion though.
Yeah.
You think he can't?
Of course, but I'm just saying,
it's not what. Take the 56, get ease on down the road. Let me get back to creating.
So you do the branding. You do weddings.
I do everything that has a story involved.
Okay.
And to me, it's really just, a lot of people call me and say, hey, what's your rates? I'm like, what's your story?
What about like the whole prom thing? Because it seems like that's starting to get bigger and bigger. Just the whole prom runway process. Would that be something you into? Because I'm starting to notice like it's getting, the production of it is like going up year by year. It used to be like, okay, you walk downstairs, everybody see you.
I couldn't really do the prom.
And it's like,
I couldn't really do the prom.
Okay.
It's sensationalizing it. What story does an 18-year-old, 16-year-old girl have with a Mercedes Benz outside,
right.
some kid, some dude about to come? I don't even believe in the prom itself. I got a daughter. Ain't nobody coming to my house.
We'll see about that.
Taking her on the best damn day of her life. Is you crazy? This dude shows up in a Mercedes Benz and pick up my daughter.
Why? Because you're Mike.
Like, I'm about to take her out a night at a time. Niggas, you crazy?
Right, because you're Mike, and it's like, that's
baby,
your punishment.
You going with your girls.
You have a daughter for a reason.
You can meet them there, but you not coming here. Because I know how I used to roll up.
Isn't that crazy? Like, you have a daughter now, so you have to protect her from like the Mike from like 1994.
And you can't. So you just teach her.
Okay.
You show her. And I show my daughter everything. I mean, I take her we go to the museum. We do everything that's dope. So to get to her, you're going to have to be just like me. And if I'm an enigma, it's only 5 other guys that's able to even keep up with her when she gets older.
Right.
So I'm not saying that I can control her. I'm just going to raise her standard to the point that even if she does do what somebody else would do, it would be in a situation where she already knows this guy loves her. They're in, like, you can't control it, but I'm gonna raise the bar so high that you're gonna have to speak. You have to know poetry and Socrates and movie. Like, you have to know so much that she gonna hit him with something and he gonna be like, huh?
Exactly. No. You kind of like.
She gonna be hood and she gonna be sophisticated.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you, man. Yeah. So once again, give everybody your link and information how to reach out to you, man.
Information is impressive.info. Email is impressive@gmail.com. Instagram page is @impressivevp. But I just tell people, like, catch me on the street. I'm always doing something. Catch me on my page. I'm always living. If you dying, stay away from me. If you're negative, stay away from me. If your energy does not exist, please don't call me because we would not get along. And that's not being mean. That's just saying vibrate higher and I'll see you.
Cool, man. Bro, you're going to have to get you back on. I think next time I want to do like a pull-up session where I'm like actually interviewing you like before or even after you doing like your photo shoot, man.
All right, you're gonna have to get the uncensored part of that, bro.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
get it on, man.
All right.
Thank you for coming
Oh,
through,
man.
Mike.
I
Appreciate it,
cuz.
man.
Yes, sir.
Follow my man, Impressive BP on Instagram. And thanks to Reality Radio.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take